The man behind the mask, Nathaniel Blackwood, adjusted his custom-tailored suit jacket and surveyed the grand ballroom with detached interest. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light over Silicon Valley's elite as they mingled, laughed too loudly at mediocre jokes, and pretended their presence at the annual Education Foundation gala was about more than tax deductions and networking. He checked his watch, 30 more minutes of mandatory appearance, before he could reasonably escape. These events were necessary evils, opportunities to maintain his public image while securing business connections. At 34, Nathaniel had built Blackwood Technologies from a dorm room project into a multi-billion-dollar empire. Success had taught him that power commanded respect but rarely inspired genuine connection. Mr. Blackwood, what an unexpected pleasure. He turned to find Margaret Wellington, the foundation's chairwoman, approaching with a young woman in tow. Margaret was useful. Her connections opened doors even his money sometimes couldn't, so he manufactured what passed for a smile these days. Margaret, congratulations on another successful event. You're too kind. Have you met Charlotte Monroe? She teaches at Oak Ridge Elementary. The woman beside Margaret was notably different from the usual gala attendees. No designer dress or professionally styled hair. Just a simple navy blue cocktail dress and natural waves falling past her shoulders. She wore minimal makeup, revealing freckles across her nose and cheeks. But it was her eyes that caught his attention. Clear, direct, and distinctly unimpressed. I haven't had the pleasure, Nathaniel replied automatically. Actually, we've corresponded, Charlotte said, her voice carrying a subtle edge. Your foundation rejected my grant application last month. Margaret's eyes widened. Charlotte, perhaps this isn't... It's fine, Margaret, Nathaniel interrupted, suddenly interested. Rejection rarely confronted him so directly. I review hundreds of applications. Remind me about yours, Ms. Monroe. Charlie, please. It was for a technology integration program for underserved students. Your rejection letter called it insufficiently innovative to warrant funding. Her gaze held his steadily, neither hostile nor intimidated, simply resolute. Nathaniel was accustomed to two types of reactions from women, either fawning attention aimed at his wealth and power, or thinly veiled fear born from his reputation for ruthless efficiency. This woman offered neither. I stand by that assessment, he said coolly. Innovation drives progress. We don't fund derivative programs. And who defines innovative, Mr. Blackwood? The man whose company hasn't released a truly groundbreaking product in 3 years? Margaret gasped. Charlotte? A ripple of surprised murmurs spread from nearby eavesdroppers. Few people dared speak to Nathaniel Blackwood that way. His employees feared his exacting standards and hair-trigger dismissals. His business rivals respected his strategic brilliance while resenting his uncanny ability to exploit their weaknesses. His dates rarely lasted beyond learning that his emotional unavailability wasn't an enticing challenge, but a concrete fact. Nathaniel should have been angry. Instead, he felt a flicker of something almost forgotten. Genuine curiosity. You've researched me, he observed. I research all potential donors, Charlie replied, especially those making decisions about my students' futures. Your passion is admirable, Nathaniel conceded, studying her more carefully. But passion without strategy accomplishes little. And strategy without heart accomplishes nothing meaningful, she countered. A server passed with champagne. Nathaniel took 2 flutes, offering one to Charlie. She accepted with a slight nod, never breaking eye contact. Tell me about these students you're so passionate about, he said, surprising himself with the genuine question. Something in her expression shifted, wariness giving way to authentic enthusiasm. They're brilliant, creative, resilient beyond what any child should need to be. They don't have the newest technology or private tutors, but they have perspectives and ideas that could change the world, if someone would bother looking. And you believe outdated tablets will unlock this potential? He asked, but without his usual dismissive edge. I believe tools matter, but what matters more is showing them that someone values their minds enough to invest in them. Charlie took a sip of champagne, something a tech innovator might understand if he remembered what it was like before the billions. Nathaniel felt an unexpected jolt. Had she somehow learned about his past? Few people knew he'd grown up in a struggling single-parent household, that his first computer had been salvaged from a dumpster, that his drive had been born from years of watching his mother work 3 jobs and still come up short. Before he could respond, Thomas Harrington approached, CEO of Rivercrest Systems and Nathaniel's chief competitor. Where Nathaniel was all cold calculation and brutal efficiency, Harrington cultivated a public image of philanthropy and charisma that concealed equally ruthless business tactics. Nathaniel, spreading your particular brand of sunshine as usual? Harrington's practiced smile revealed perfect teeth. And who might this lovely lady be? Something territorial flickered through Nathaniel unexpectedly. Charlotte Monroe. She teaches elementary school. A noble profession, Harrington said smoothly, taking Charlie's hand and holding it slightly too long. My foundation has a particular interest in education. Perhaps we should discuss how Rivercrest might support your work. Nathaniel recognized the move for what it was. Harrington's constant effort to position himself as the benevolent alternative to Blackwood's infamous coldness. The strategic part of Nathaniel's brain calculated the minimal social damage of walking away versus the irritation of watching Harrington's performance. What he didn't expect was Charlie's response. Thank you, Mr. Harrington. But I've researched your foundation as well. Your grants come with publicity requirements that take time away from actual teaching. I'm interested in substantive support, not being anyone's photo opportunity. Harrington's smile faltered. I assure you our commitment to education is genuine. Perhaps, Charlie replied evenly. But your company's data harvesting practices in school-provided tablets suggest otherwise. Nathaniel couldn't suppress a small, genuine smile, the first of the evening. Harrington excused himself shortly afterward, leaving Nathaniel alone again with this surprising woman who had just deftly dismantled one of the most powerful men in tech. You've made an enemy tonight, Nathaniel observed. Charlie shrugged. I've survived worse than offended billionaires. Indeed. Nathaniel found himself reluctant to end their conversation. Your grant proposal. Was it truly innovative, or are you simply passionate about the execution? Both, but you'd have to see the program in action to understand why. Was that a challenge in her eyes? Nathaniel wasn't accustomed to being challenged by employees, competitors, or especially by elementary school teachers at charity functions. Perhaps I will, he replied, surprising himself again. He reached into his jacket and produced a business card. Not the standard one his assistant distributed, but his personal card with his direct number. Send me the details. Charlie accepted the card but didn't appear particularly impressed. Fair warning, Mr. Blackwood. My classroom isn't filled with people who fear disappointing you. It's just 26 honest kids who'll judge you by how you treat them, not by what you own. Nathaniel, he corrected, and I wouldn't expect anything else. As she walked away, Nathaniel realized he'd completely forgotten about his exit strategy for the evening. For the first time in years, someone had looked at him, really looked, without seeing the wealth, the power, or the carefully constructed armor. Charlotte Monroe had somehow seen past all that to challenge the man beneath. More unsettling was the realization that he wanted her to unexpected connections. 3 days after the gala, Principal Jenkins of Oak Ridge Elementary nearly dropped her coffee when Nathaniel Blackwood strode through the front office. Mr. Blackwood? Do you have an appointment? No, he replied curtly. I'm here to observe Charlotte Monroe's classroom. He found Charlie guiding her 5th grade students through a science project using outdated tablets and surprising resourcefulness. For 20 minutes he observed from the back, noting her patient explanations and the children's genuine engagement, despite limited resources. When a student's circuit board project failed, Nathaniel instinctively approached. May I? He asked, kneeling beside the desk. Charlie watched with surprise as Nathaniel's fingers deftly rearranged components, his voice softening as he explained the principles to the wide-eyed student. You know about circuits, Mr. Blackwood? The boy asked. Before I built software, I built hardware, Nathaniel replied, something gentle in his tone that Charlie had never heard at the gala. After class, Charlie confronted him in the hallway. So is this how you evaluate all grant proposals? Unannounced visits and classroom interference? Only the interesting ones, he admitted. Your students are impressive. They are, she agreed. So why did you really come? Nathaniel considered several calculated responses before surprising himself with honesty. You looked me in the eyes at the gala. Most people either fear me or want something from me. You did neither. Charlie studied him. Our career day is next Friday. Students need to see more than just wealthy tech celebrities. They need to see the actual humans behind the success. Think you can manage that? Nathaniel blinked at the unexpected challenge. Walls crumbling, Nathaniel spent more time preparing for career day than he had for congressional testimony. Yet when faced with 26 curious fifth graders, his carefully crafted presentation evaporated. "Did you always know you'd be rich?" asked a girl with bright eyes. "No," Nathaniel answered honestly. "My mother cleaned office buildings at night. My first computer came from someone else's trash." "Were you scared when you started your company?" asked another student. "Terrified," Nathaniel admitted, surprising himself again. "Fear of failure keeps most people from trying. The difference is deciding to try anyway." Charlie watched from the back, witnessing a transformation. The cold, calculating businessman was revealing something vulnerable and authentic. Later, as they shared takeout in her classroom, Nathaniel explained how his mother's illness had shaped him. "Success meant survival," he said quietly. "I built walls to protect myself, then found I couldn't dismantle them." Charlie shared her own story of growing up in foster care, of finding her purpose in teaching children who, like herself, needed someone to believe in them. "We're not so different," she observed. "We both built something from nothing." "Except your something actually matters," Nathaniel replied. As weeks passed, their unlikely friendship deepened. Nathaniel found himself lingering after school events, helping with technology upgrades, sharing meals that contained more honesty than he'd allowed himself in years. When a photo of them at a school fundraiser hit the tabloids, tech titan tamed by teacher, Nathaniel realized his carefully constructed public image was shifting, and surprisingly, he didn't mind. "Ruth faces, are you dating Nathaniel Blackwood?" Charlie looked up from her lesson plans to find her colleague standing in her classroom doorway, clutching a tablet displaying gossip headlines. "We're friends," Charlie replied, though the word felt inadequate for the connection they'd built over 2 months. That evening, Nathaniel called. "Have you seen the news?" "About us?" "Yes. Harrington's behind it." Nathaniel's voice had reverted to its cold business tone. "He's suggesting I'm using you in the school for reputation rehabilitation." The accusations escalated when an anonymous source claimed Charlie had pursued Nathaniel for financial gain. Worse, the school board called an emergency meeting to discuss the distraction Charlie had created. Nathaniel arrived at her apartment that night, his expression glacial. "I've made arrangements to distance myself from the school. Our association is damaging your career. So your solution is to decide for me," Charlie challenged. "To push me away for my own good? That's the coward's way out." "I'm trying to protect you," he insisted. "No, you're protecting yourself from having to be vulnerable," Charlie countered. "I knew who you were from the beginning, both the ruthless businessman and the man who kneels to help a child with a science project. I accept both. The question is whether you can." Nathaniel left without answering, retreating behind familiar walls. Beyond appearances, a week of silence followed. Charlie faced the school board alone, defending her integrity while missing Nathaniel more than she'd expected. Then came the press conference. On national television, Nathaniel Blackwood, known for never explaining himself, announced a $50 million education initiative focused on underprivileged schools, inspired by a teacher who saw beyond appearances. "I built my success believing that vulnerability was weakness," he told reporters. "I was wrong. True strength comes from connection, not isolation. A lesson I learned not in boardrooms, but in a classroom from someone brave enough to look past my reputation and challenge me to be better." He made no attempt to contact Charlie directly, respecting her space while making his position clear to the world. The next day, Charlie walked into Nathaniel's office unannounced. "Impressive speech," she said as he looked up in surprise. "But you missed something important." Nathaniel stood slowly. "What's that?" "You forgot to mention that looking past appearances goes both ways." Charlie moved closer. "I didn't just see the man behind the billionaire mask. I saw someone worth letting into my carefully guarded world too." Nathaniel crossed the distance between them. "I've built empires and destroyed competitors, but nothing terrifies me more than how much I care about you." "Good?" Charlie smiled, taking his hand. "Fear means it matters. Now, are you brave enough to see where this goes?" As he drew her into his arms, Nathaniel realized that for all his success, this was his first truly courageous act. Allowing someone to see him completely and choosing connection over the safety of isolation. Charlie had looked him in the eyes when others wouldn't, and in doing so, helped him finally see himself.